She walks in loud like a thunderstorm, debunking myths with style and form. True crime, conspiracies, her game. Melissa Jade, remember her name. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Microphone fierce like a roaring lion, unveiling secrets people been hiding. True crime queen of the digital scene, Melissa's got you hooked on her screen. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Murders to cover-ups, nothing misses. Melissa's here to share her guesses. She's got theories big and bold, no stone unturned, no case cold. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. From murders to cover-ups, nothing misses. Melissa's here to share her guesses. She's got theories big and bold, no stone unturned, no case cold. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. 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 She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Allie.
Hey,
Welcome. Happy Tuesday.
dude, I was jamming out to your song, like singing it, and like I know every word now. My family probably thinks I'm insane. I was walking around
I was
getting
thinking
myself
about making
together.
an updated one because the same thing happened with the first one, which I love. I used to use the first one for Patreon because it's more conspiracy,
Yeah,
and then this one, I'm like, yeah, maybe it's time for a new one. But I like it. It gets stuck in my head, but I'm biased.
it's so good. Like, like I was going getting like my drink and my snack. I was getting all my stuff together, walking around the house singing it at the top of my lungs. Like I said,
I
sounding crazy, but it's so good.
Thanks. And hi, everyone. How is everyone? I'm so excited for this live. So, we haven't been live with Casey in almost a week, because I took the weekend off. But here we are, and I'm ready for it. I feel like both of us have been ready for it because even though I watched it when I was so much younger, though, but
Yeah,
you never sat down and watched the whole thing. And I know that we've been kind of like biting our tongues and like waiting to get to this point, and now here we are. And just so you guys know, there are more calls with the family, but the thing is that they're going to play this during trial anyway, so it kind of makes sense for us just to start trial versus watching all of the calls, then going in trial, and then we had already watched the calls. Like, it just kind of makes sense to go with it because this is a very big, long trial. But I'm
yeah.
so excited for it, Allie.
I'm so excited too. I know that we have to take our time off and all of that, but I'm just so glad we're back to it. And
Yes.
yeah, it's going to be a long one though. Like that, did you like look at that playlist that from courttv.com?
I have it up right now, and there is a lot. Yet I already knew that there was a lot because even the playlist that I pulled the calls from,
Yeah.
they have the trial there too. But honestly, no rush, right? Like, I'm here for it, and I don't want to skip over it because I really think it's crucial, especially like in the true crime community, to see and observe how these cases can go. Because from the outside, especially with like Idaho and stuff, even like think about
Yep.
Stephen Stearns, even though I don't think that will be too much, but hey, you never know. When you go in, you can think, look at Richard Allen, you can think, hey, this is very straightforward. There's no way that they're not going to find them guilty or innocent, whatever side you may be leaning on. Then to see it actually played out in the court process and to understand not everything is admitted into court. Same thing with Richard Allen, right? There is so much that was never shown to the jury. And to watch that process unfold, to see how the jury is given their instructions, to see the sidebars, what the jury is not hearing, and to watch how this could actually impact the outcome of a case. And I think that this is the perfect one to kind of do it with, though.
It is, but you know what? So, okay, I'm with you. I'm ready for like a long-term deep dive. It doesn't matter how long it takes because there's so much information. I want us to look at it all. But with Stephen Stearns, like the first trial will be, really obviously there's images of it all. But think about the second one because he's claiming that he came back to the room and found her that way. That's what he said on those phone calls, like the recent ones we were talking about. So he's claiming, I guess, that trying to blame it on Jen. And he's also saying they had fist fights and him and Maddie had this relationship going and Jen knew how Maddie felt about him. That's what he's, yeah, he's
No
like,
way.
yeah, he's like, she knew how she felt about me. And then his parents are like, I just don't understand, like how, like they're talking about the pictures without talking about it, and he's basically saying like she was so special to me, like I don't know how I let this happen, but yeah, Jen knew. So it's not exactly cut and dry because I don't know, anything could happen.
Well, and even with Casey, right? Hey, we have an outcome here, right? What we do know is that we have a body similar to like with Tisha. We have a body, we have circumstances, but at the end of the day, we're not able to necessarily prove what exactly happened. And unfortunately, we do see that a lot, right? With Gannon, we saw, hey, we know what happened to an extent, but we really don't know how it played out. Then we have Kaylee, right, where okay, we know what happened after, we know what happened before, but unfortunately we don't even know how she passed. And so similar with Maddie is that all right, well, we know how she passed, but we have no idea what exactly may have transpired and took place. So it's very interesting to educate ourselves and to see there's many different outcomes that this can go. And depending on the lawyer, depending on the narrative, the alibi, whatever is the direction they may go in, you could really never predict. You never can be certain. A jury can really throw it a completely different way than you would anticipate.
Yeah, it's pretty scary when you think about it, but very interesting to watch. Like humans are weird, Melissa.
They are. Honestly, I get terrified all the time when I see the true crime community. It was just with Idaho on the last live 2 days ago. I was explaining how I went to this channel because people were coming in stating disinformation and misinformation. And I was like, all right, let me go to this channel to see what exactly are they taking from what this person's putting out. And I was shocked, Allie. I was shocked to my core because I didn't even watch a video yet. I just looked in the comment section and the amount of mis and disinformation that these like basic facts. And it's like, holy crap, I couldn't imagine not knowing basic information and running and jumping and putting my opinion and accusing innocent people when I don't even know what exactly transpired. And then I think about the jury and you're taking 12 random people. What's the likelihood that you're going to get 12 honest, genuine, open-minded people, right? Like it's just, I don't know. It makes me nervous.
Scary. Yeah, me too. And I don't know, Melissa, why. It's like people don't understand. Like, I don't know. Do they not think, this is very serious? These are real people. Like, we shouldn't run with stuff. Are they new to true crime, the people who do that? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think that there's still a disconnect with social media and how mainstream media is kind of taking the back seat and how people come to YouTube to get their true crime news. And it's great. Just like with anything, there's so many pros, but there's also cons. And I kind of look at it as a Black Mirror episode, right? Look how awesome this is. Like we no longer need to be limited with mainstream media. We don't need to be censored. We could put out the facts and what we really know what's going on. Great. But then at the same time, there is nothing holding people back. And that goes both ways. And so, yeah, I'm not censored, but I also have no requirements to make sure what I'm putting out is factual and correct. And I feel like people that, like, especially maybe the older generation, the generation above us, they come and just because it's put out and maybe a very nice pre-recorded video type of way, that they're trusting what that creator is putting out is factual, because that's kind of what a lot of people come to mainstream media or social media for. Hey, I don't have the time to sit here and go through all of this. Like, tell me what I need to know. But a lot of creators are not putting out factual information. They're putting out the ones that are going to get that clickbait. And it's very concerning, because this is, especially when it comes to true crime, these are lives that have been lost in a brutal manner. Like, if anything deserves to be factual, it is true crime cases.
I agree totally. It's crazy. I don't know. Like, it's one thing if it's all the disinformation in like drama communities or makeup whatever. But this should be, you're right, it should be handled differently. I don't know. It's an interesting way to think about it though, like social media. When are people going to adjust? And also, like, yeah, stop trusting people. Like, even your favorite creators, you guys, double check, like, look for yourselves, look for the sources. It's so important.
Yep. And I don't like the whole sources thing. And that's because I'm a subscriber too. I'm also a viewer. And the way I could put it is, if a channel is telling you, hey, I have this source and I'm coming out with this information, don't believe anything, number one. But what you can do is, all right, let me look at the history of this channel and let me see when they've come out with sources prior, how did it work out? And if it worked out that it was legit in the past, then okay, you could give it more credibility, but still you shouldn't take anything, because look at the Joseph Morris situation, releasing knowingly false fabricated news articles and audios and stuff like that. And it's insane how a massive platform can get away with that. But don't trust anything. There is no difference between us and you guys in the chat. You guys have a channel of your own. It's just whether or not you utilize it. But a lot of people get caught up in the clickbait and the money and the knowing what's going to get those clicks, and they'll gear their content towards that, whether or not it's legit.
Yeah. I like when somebody's going to tell me who their source is, what it is, whether it's police documents, magazines, not this unknown, like that kind of thing. That's just, I don't like it at all. But yeah.
Neither do I. So that was like a long way for us to say, we are so excited to watch this, basically get the information for ourselves, learn, and to see, hey, because I do believe Casey is guilty. That's just my opinion, but I'm so excited to see, where do I think something went wrong? I really kind of want to listen this as open-minded, and even though I know how I feel, to try to pull that back a bit and just really listen to the defense and what they put forward and the evidence presented.
Yeah, me too. Even though I don't have an opinion already, although I do based on her actions, but I don't have an opinion based on the evidence presented, because I don't know what they showed. So it's going to be really interesting to try to like hear out the defense. I'm glad you're going to I'm glad we're doing this. It's so exciting.
Me too. And thank you, 2112. Interesting point, NJ. I know one creator who's really credible and who checks the facts. Thank you so much for the $7.22. He always gives the most random super chats, and I appreciate it. Hi, Oki. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Our missing child for tonight's live stream is Carmela Avila. He has been missing since March 7th, 2024 from Mesa, Arizona. It says both photos shown are of Camelo. He may be in the company of his mom. So here we have an additional photo, which, wow, look at the difference with his longer hair. Look at those curls, Allie.
Wow. Such a difference, too.
Such a difference. They don't have a photo of his mom, but if you or anyone who knows information on his whereabouts, please contact the Mesa Police Department at 1-480-644-2211. Thank you, Tara, for 2 months. So excited you're doing this. Much love. Yes, and thank you, F-Bomb Mom, for the gifted memberships. Welcome. Anybody who won Patreon last night, by the way, I didn't forget about you. I just haven't got a chance to go send over the links yet. I will, and I know that we have Patreons to gift from DB Bentley and from Justin, and so thank you all so much. His name, Seven Lilies, is Carmelo Avila. Carmelo Avila. But thank you so much, F-Bomb Mom.
I like her name, F-Bomb Mom.
Yeah, I like it too.
I'm an F-bomb mom too.
Yeah, ask privately. Shoot me an email and I'll do, which obviously everyone have their own opinions, like, but I'll give you my honest opinion. You know what? Screw it. You could say it. I'll fucking see. I don't even give a shit anymore. You know what? I don't even give a shit anymore. You could straight ask and I'll tell you, because I should stand on my opinion. I don't try to like to take digs at creators, but if you're genuinely asking if they're credible or not, I'll give you my best opinion. Hi, Pointer Lover.
I'm right there with you. Then if I know them, I got your back. I'll give mine too.
Yeah.
You're like, screw it. You know what?
Screw it. You know what? Yeah, I don't have to hide. Just ask. So we're gonna be watching this from Court TV, you guys. We are starting with, go ahead, Kelly. We are starting with opening statements, and I'm really excited. And so we're going to be learning along the way. Please, if you have any questions, ask. Hey, if I have any questions that I don't know, I'm going to ask you guys, because I know how educated a lot of you guys are specifically on this case. I've seen so many of you guys attending our episodes of this, and you guys have helped us understand certain things, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you all for that. And I'm really excited. I don't think we're going to get past opening statements tonight, but we're going to be doing episode 6 tomorrow, right on Allie's channel. So we got back to back. But I'm ready for this, Allie. I'm so freaking ready for this. I can't tell you.
Me too. But you know what? I was thinking, like, for this to be, it's almost 20 years old. In 3 years, or no, I'm sorry, it happened in 2011, but the case happened almost 20 years ago. And for them to have it all archived like this on their site, like, that's really cool. I'm thankful that they do, so we can do this.
Yep. Exactly. And I'm not familiar with that channel, Kelly. So Kelly says guilty of crime, legit or no. I can't actually give you my opinion. Either. You don't know?
Never heard of that one.
Guilty of crime, but you bet your bottom dollar I'm now going to take a look and I'll let you know, because you could pretty much, especially if they've covered cases that you're familiar with previously, you could pretty much tell early on whether or not they're legit or not. I can't tell you, though, because I'm not familiar, but I'll get back to you. Hi, Nancy. Okay. Jai, yeah. Point of lover, she said her name is Jai. I like that channel. She handled the Casey case well. Okay.
Huh. Cool. Okay.
Oh, she's been in chat before. Well, then I apologize. I'm just not familiar with her as a channel, but I'll check it out. I'll definitely check her out. Okay, I'll look at scroll. All right. Hi, Truthfully Me is Kaylee's father. You're talking about wait. You mean you think Kaylee's father is Casey's father? I'm not sure what. I'm confused. Hell's G.
Are you saying you think George is Kaylee's dad? Because I just don't see that based on their interaction. Like, think about these calls and stuff that they've had. He's not even cared to listen in at all. And if she was truly being, like, assaulted by him her whole life, which should be looked at seriously, of course, even with Letitia and that lawsuit you're about to cover, that's some of it in there. Like, I haven't even finished going through it, but yeah, even with her, we want to take that serious, right? And actually look at it. But if you look at it, their behavior and the fact that Casey didn't run and get her own daughter out of there, if that was that's where she left her daughter. That's where she felt safe with her. So that doesn't line up for me,
Well, and okay, here's the thing, and I think it's very simple. One, we all know that when you have a child with someone that you are related to, the likelihood for deformities and defects are much greater. But right here at the time of this trial, they already were throwing, what you're going to see is they're already going to throw out this accusation. If Casey knew Kaylee was a product of incest by her father, okay, well, I don't know if it would be called incest, so because if it was not consensual, I'm not sure if, I don't want to mischaracterize it, but if Kaylee was a product of that and her father, the first thing they would do is try to get a DNA test. And then they would have questioned, because it would have been as simple as that. And how do you think the jury would, if
Wait.
opening statements, what?
Didn't they have Kaylee's DNA?
I believe, yeah, they have her DNA. I don't know
So
if
they would
ever
know?
I would think that they would know. But that it would be as simple as that. Once the jury heard, oh my God, like Kaylee's a product of George, that's it.
Right.
There's the case. There's the fucking case. They didn't. They do have her DNA. Now I'm sure we're gonna hear about Kaylee's biological father. And so I guess we'll see what happens. But if that was the case, that would have come out long ago, because they have George's DNA. They have Kaylee's DNA. I think that they would have figured that out by now.
Yeah, agree. But hells, I always appreciate your comments and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nothing, just my honest opinion, and Melissa's, of course, or with hers. But even when we disagree, it's still fun to have the conversation. So
it is. But okay, so this is going to be opening statements, the Florida versus Casey Anthony. And so let me know if this audio is glitchy. Let me know and I'll share my entire screen, but just let me know so I know, because it always sounds normal on my end. So, okay. Oh my God, here we go. I'm so excited.
If it does, I'll pause you though quick.
Thank you. Okay, English.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I hope you had a safe trip over.
I think
hope all is well.
Say that again.
It might be crackling. Let it play for another minute though, just to see, because we can still hear good, but it's like,
okay,
yeah, just let it play. But also, maybe on your phone, look and see if you think I'm wrong, like, because it could be me. So, because it's not that bad. Okay,
hold on.
Okay, now, did you heed all my previous admonitions while we were absent from each other, not to read, watch, nor listen to any news accounts of this case? Not to discuss this case with anyone. And last but not least, not to engage in any.
It's crackling. So 1 second.
Okay. What is up with our computers, and why is it mine too? It must be StreamYard.
I swear it's StreamYard. It's StreamYard, because this is the 7th browser I have been using. This is Brave. I've never even heard of Brave, but hi Bendy. That's how much, it's, I've been doing the most. But okay, now I'm going to share full screen.
Okay.
You guys can see it's good, right?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Internet searches or any type of social media type searches. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Is a
It's up to you.
Instructions.
The defendant is charged with the crimes of first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and 4 counts of providing false information to a law enforcement officer. The definition of the elements of those crimes will be explained to you later. It is your solemn responsibility to determine if the state has proved its accusations beyond a reasonable doubt against the defendant. Your verdict must be based solely on the evidence or lack of evidence and the law. The indictment is not evidence and is not to be considered by you as any proof of guilt. It is the judge's responsibility to decide which laws apply to this case and to explain those laws to you. It is your responsibility to decide what the facts of this case may be and to apply the law to those facts. Thus, the province of the jury and the province of the court are well defined and they do not overlap. This is one of the fundamental principles of our system of justice.
I love the way you said that.
Before proceeding, it would be helpful if you understand how a trial is conducted. At the beginning of the trial, attorneys will have an opportunity, if they wish, to make an opening statement. The opening statement gives the attorneys a chance to tell you what evidence they believe will be presented during the trial. What the lawyers say is not evidence, and you're not to consider it as such. Following opening statements, witnesses will be called to testify under oath. They will be examined and cross-examined by the attorneys. Documents and other exhibits also may be produced as evidence. After the evidence has been presented, the attorneys will have an opportunity to make their final arguments. Following arguments by the attorneys, the court will instruct you on the law applicable to the case. After the instructions are given, you will then retire to consider your verdict. You should not form any definite or fixed opinions on the merits of the case until you have heard all of the evidence, the argument of the lawyers, and the instructions on the law by the judge. Until that time, you should not discuss the case among yourselves. During the course of the trial, the court may take recesses. During these recesses, you will be permitted to go back into the jury room and take care of some things there. During these recesses, you will not discuss the case with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about the case. If anyone attempts to say
I'm just gonna jump past that.
or the people or place,
yeah, I think that's fine. We saw the beginning, and her demeanor is interesting.
In the courthouse, discuss this case or ask for any
just
notes
giving jury
that you take
instructions.
will be for your
All right, I
That
think
is that
this,
line.
yeah, this marks
testimony.
Okay.
Story.
So, okay.
Of course,
All I'm doing is I jump past the rest of the jury instructions. I feel like we're all pretty familiar at this point. And so you have George Anthony and Cindy sitting in the back here. I just want you guys, as we're listening to the open statements, because again, what the judges are saying, how this will be the time for state and defense to put forward the evidence that they believe will be presented at trial. But listen, what they say, do not take it as fact. Like this is, they will have room to push their own theory and narrative. So I want us to very, very much pay attention to body language, because body language is so massive in my opinion. And if we are going to be open-minded and willing to consider what Casey's current narrative is, that means that same current narrative would have been true at this point in time. And so I'm really looking at George and I'm really looking at Casey, and I'm very interested to see what the body language is going to say about it.
Me too. And okay, so do you think that they knew in this moment here, before we get to the opening statements, because that's probably where the first hit's coming, right? The defense. Yeah. But do you think they knew, or do you think they were hit by surprise?
I think George knew. I think Baez told them, this is what I'm going to do. I just do not think that George knew that his son would get dragged into it also.
Okay.
But then I say no. But then I change my mind, because then I remember George Anthony testified as their star witness during the grand jury indictment. And that is when it seems like Casey went boop. And so then I think maybe he didn't know. I don't know. I have to watch this all again because it's been so long.
Right.
So maybe my thoughts and how I remember it isn't going to be the same.
Yeah. And I can't wait to hear things, like if things do change, make sure to point it out to her, because that'll be really interesting. Like the way I perceived it 15 years ago versus now.
Yes. See, Robin saying, I totally think her dad knew, like, then you have lucid dreams he didn't know. Unless maybe he shared in an interview after, and please, if he did, let me know. I'm not sure. But I don't know. But it seems like once Casey found out he testified in the grand jury against her, she turned.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Just wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Your Honor, we would.
You may proceed.
I'm nervous. Like, ugh. Here we go.
So state gets to go first.
Welcome to Orange County. As we have heard several times throughout the course of the jury selection proceedings, this is the case of the state of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony. However, it is time to tell the story of a little girl named Kaylee. Eventually, at about 8 o'clock that night, somebody at the Anthony home, Cindy, you will hear from the testimony, contacts her son, Casey Anthony's older brother, Lee.
No, I didn't, but thank you, Bendy. So the jurors are not from Orange County, which only worked in her favor, right, Allie? It would only work in her favor. This case was massive, but this case hit around the world.
See, I was thinking that whenever she said, welcome to Orange County, it kind of confused me. Were the jurors brought in? Was this moved? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, okay.
Yeah. So thank you. And yeah, Tess, I was like, thank goodness she just moved to the microphone because it was so muffled at first.
Lee Anthony tries to find his sister based on some research he did on people's Facebook pages, where he hears or reads or learns that his sister is going to be at a nightclub in downtown Orlando that night. So Lee Anthony gathers up his girlfriend or fiance, Mallory, and they go downtown, and Lee searches for Casey and can't find her. During this process, Lee Anthony had sent a message or called Annie Downing, one of Casey Anthony's friends, who alerted Casey Anthony that her brother was looking for her. Casey Anthony, you will hear, got herself out of downtown Orlando. Day 19, Friday, July 4th. Casey Anthony is perpetuating this lie to her mother that they're in Jacksonville. However, she tells her former fiance, Jesse Grund, that Kaylee's at SeaWorld with Annie. You will hear from an individual by the name of Will Waters, the guy Casey met July 4th, 2008.
Another guy?
That she was at his house.
Yeah, another guy. So I almost...
Sorry.
No, you're fine, because I have my notes out now, and I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have to keep up with these names because there's going to be a lot of guys' names. So Will, she met July 4th, it said.
Okay. Yeah. Another guy.
Yeah, her former fiance. What's his name again? Oh crap, what was her former fiance's name? She just said it.
I don't know. I was listening, but also watching the chat and stuff. So I didn't the name didn't absorb for me. What is it though? Because I know that they've said it over. Is it the R starts with an R?
No, not Ricardo. That's different. She just said it. How she said that she told him he was at SeaWorld. Jesse, thank you.
Okay.
Former fiance Jesse told her that she was at SeaWorld. Hey, Shakta. Thank you. Yeah, it was cool. And then, no, I haven't heard Tony yet, but thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
The chat is so good. I should be taking notes too, but I'll probably just start with our first witnesses because I'm not inside. I'm more chilling out.
That's what I love about. They're so educated. I've already, this is episode 5, but I've realized how invested so many people are on this case, and they are very familiar. That's what I'm saying. You guys help educate me also, and help learning, and I appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Me too. It's awesome.
Thank you, little giggle.
Planning a party for the 4th of July. And they went to Lake Eola, which is in downtown Orlando, where they have an annual 4th of July fireworks display. And he took a picture. Casey Anthony.
Look at that side eye.
On the 4th of July, 2008. Tony Lazzaro.
Oh, is that him or?
20th, Saturday, July 5th.
July 5th.
Before he arrives, Casey Anthony is captured on video with Will Waters at an IKEA
With
here in
Will.
Orlando. No Kaylee Anthony. Is talking excitedly about the fact that her boyfriend, Tony, is coming back from New York. And goes to a place called Buffalo Wild Wings that night with Tony. In the meantime, she didn't forget to tell her mother that her car is now broken down in Jacksonville. And Jeffrey Hopkins is helping her get it fixed. And now we're not going to be back till July 12th.
So this gives us some more clarity. Remember when Nanya had said, when we were on your channel, I think with episode 2, you know, like, if they lived with Cindy and George, right? How did so much time pass? But now we're getting a little bit more clarity, you know, like, and yeah, she kind of would go in and out for the weekend, this, that. But she said, you know, she was gone. She was in Jacksonville. My car broke down. So now it just keeps getting extended out to where her family eventually had to hunt her down.
And did you see she reacted to that? She like shook her head no.
Like a no. She's piercing those lips. You see those lips pressed against each other. But she also 100%, Jose would have advised her to be consciously aware of her face and her reactions. So this is her being advised, and so you know that reaction is really deep in there.
Yeah, because like look at her, just the pause, like for one, her lips, like you said, but just the face she's making. She's like kind of staring straight ahead, you know, trying probably very hard not to react, which is not working. She just did, but just the look in her face is like, oh, I feel like I can hear that her heart beating, and she's like, gulp.
Yeah, she's mad. She's mad, but she's mad for her, not for Kaylee.
Yeah.
Another week. Buying time, the evidence will show. She tells Cindy that Kaylee Anthony is now staying with Jeffrey Hopkins' mother and Jeffrey Hopkins' son, Zachary. You will hear from Jeffrey Hopkins that none of that is true. So we go through day 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. No one knows where Kaylee is. And Casey Anthony is just gallivanting around Orlando, captured on video at Target.
Stop shaking your head no. And I could imagine with, like, even if she was innocent, it must be frustrating sitting there if something's being stated that isn't true. But what they're stating, there is proof of so far. So I don't know what you're shaking your head no about, but the jury doesn't need to see it.
Yeah. It's funny because it's just like basic details of where she was, and she's already.
You were caught on video. Why are you shaking your head no?
Yeah.
We know that to be true. Thank you, MK, and congratulations, MM77, for the membership. Thanks so much.
Captured on video at a Bank of America eventually. And there's no Kaylee Anthony on any of these videos. So where is she? On Friday, July 11th, day 26, Casey Anthony's back at Fusion, a nightclub. On July 12th, day 27, Cindy is getting text messages from Casey that she's still in Jacksonville.
Wow.
She's really at a Winn-Dixie at 9:30 that night. Captured on video.
Again, on video.
Yep.
Day July 13th, which is now day 28. Casey Anthony tells her mother that they had to stay longer past July 12th in Jacksonville because of a wedding. Jeff Hopkins' mother's wedding. And finally, we get to day 30. Tuesday, July 15th of 2008. You will hear that over the weekend, George and Cindy Anthony were doing some yard work and had noticed that a letter had been placed in their front door. They had to go to the post office to retrieve whatever this item was. George Anthony was unable to accomplish or take care of that errand on July 14th. So on July 15th, he goes to the post office, retrieves this letter, and it's from Johnson's record. Although Casey Anthony had exclusive possession of the white Pontiac Sunfire, the car was titled in George and Cindy Anthony's name. And so when it was towed to Johnson's Wrecker, the wrecker company eventually sent a letter to the registered owners, George and Cindy Anthony. Here's where your car is. Come get it and bring cash.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yep, I didn't know that.
So George and Cindy Anthony drive to Johnson's Wrecker, and while Mrs. Anthony deals with the people at the front desk, George Anthony goes with an individual by the name of Simon Birch to retrieve the car.
Can I just say, I've never seen seats like this in a courtroom. These aren't.
Yeah, me neither. Now that you say that.
Right. It's like I would anticipate to see this in like a hotel lobby type of. These are very Florida individual seats that look comfortable for a courtroom versus benches.
Yeah, way better. But you're right. It looks like where you would have like a business meeting or a lecture in a lobby or somewhere.
Right. Like a MLM type of like, come on in, let's talk about this. It's crazy.
Along the way, George Anthony is telling Mr. Birch of these problems that the family is having, that he hasn't seen his granddaughter or his daughter for days. And as they approach the vehicle, an overwhelming smell is emanating from it. And it's coming from the trunk. George Anthony will tell you that he said a silent prayer, that it was neither his daughter or his granddaughter that he would find in the trunk of that car.
Do I see any type of like, I know we can't take much, but I'm like, am I looking for those pierced lips that with the anger, disdain? Because if I'm to believe what she said is true, she would have already known. So the idea of hearing how he was concerned would anger. I would anticipate that would anger her, but that's not what I see right now.
She squinted her eyes a little bit, almost if it was hard to hear. But oh my God, it's just why else would she abandon her car unless it was because it smelled like that? Because why else? I mean, you run out of gas, okay, you're going to get someone to bring you gas. Your car is literally all you have, especially at that age, especially, party lifestyle. It makes no sense that you would abandon it unless there was a reason.
I think why we see such sloppiness too is because she was so young and irresponsible. So she really didn't think things through. And yeah, she abandoned it because she knew what was up, and out of sight, out of mind type of deal, not thinking long term at all.
Yeah, but think like if there wasn't a reason, if it was just out of gas, like you would get it back because it's of value to you at that age, or especially because you want to go out.
Right. And yes, Carolyn Coop, she parked it by the dumpster too to try to mask that smell.
Oh my God.
Simon Birch, who you will learn has spent many years in the tow business and has seen and heard and smelled just about everything associated with a car, including when someone committed suicide inside a car and it sat for days. So Simon Birch will give you his opinion based on this experience about what that smell was. And as that's going through his mind, and he hears George Anthony making these statements about his missing daughter and granddaughter, Simon Birch as well is hoping that they're not going to find a body in the trunk. And when the trunk is open, there's a bag of garbage inside.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And you will hear that Simon Birch took that bag of garbage and threw it over a fence at Johnson's Record and eventually placed it into a dumpster there. George Anthony got into that car, drove it home.
Drove it home because there wasn't anything wrong with the vehicle. He was able to get right in and drove right home.
When Cynthia Anthony had her first contact with the car, her words to George Anthony were, "Jesus, what died?" At which point, her husband proceeded to tell her that there had been garbage in the car. So George and Cindy Anthony go back to their house on Hope Spring Drive. Now, obviously frustrated about the fact that this car is not in Jacksonville, where Casey said she was with Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
And that it had been, they learned, at this tow yard since June 30th. So they knew she was lying. George Anthony had to be at work at 3 o'clock that afternoon. They put the car in the garage at their house to air out. Cindy Anthony goes back to work as well and is communicating about the smell to her coworkers. And they eventually convince her she needs to call the police.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that either. I didn't realize Cindy went to work and was expressing it to coworkers, and they're the ones who were like, Cindy, you got to call.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, of course, I didn't know that, but that's so interesting that it wasn't the smell, it wasn't the situation, it was after, like, talking to people, which is not abnormal. Like,
No,
if you talk to people outside of the situation, they can see things a little more clear.
100%.
Mm.
And it was the same day, but
Yeah. I just think of, like, I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm watching her, and I can't help but think of Megan, Leilani, Letitia, all of these women that we've watched in the recent years, and I just wanna see if it doesn't seem that it's gonna be that different. Some of those cases didn't have, like, exact,
right.
knowing exactly what happened, so
Right. And that's why I said earlier, I'm like, it's going to be very interesting to see kind of like how, wow, you could pretty much have similar circumstances, but very different outcomes, and watching, well, what led to this outcome? Like, how can, like, what are those factors? And I'm very,
yeah.
very eager to see it. But I feel like I'm watching this all for the first time because it's been forever and I don't remember a lot of the things she just said. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's really awesome too, which I'm not surprised because it's been a long freaking time, so
Yeah. It's a long, and I see everyone contributing in chat. Thank you so much. Everyone's so educated. I see people who live very close to this, and it's just so crazy.
Yeah, and I'm reading the chat to you guys. I'm trying to read all the comments and watch, but sometimes I'm kind of just watching. But it's harder to comment back from the StreamYard, like as a guest. So that's why I'm just not commenting a lot. But I'm right there watching your comments too.
I'm watching your guys' comments too, and I would love to be pulling them up as I go. But as you can see, I'm sharing the full screen. So to pull one up, I would have to jump here. We wouldn't be watching the trial.
Yeah.
So, but I'm seeing them all.
Cindy Anthony texts Casey Anthony about 4:30 that afternoon that there's a major problem, that she needs to contact her. In the meantime, while all this is going on with George and Cindy Anthony, Casey Anthony is happily in her friend Amy Huizenga's car, because days earlier, Amy had taken a trip to Puerto Rico. And now Casey.
The reaction.
And on July 15th in the afternoon, Casey Anthony makes an appointment for another tattoo. Tells the guy at the tattoo place that she's gonna bring Kaylee in with her when she gets this tattoo. Is captured on a Bank of America surveillance video, cashing a check about 1:30.
That's really interesting that she told the tattoo, I'm gonna be bringing my daughter in with me.
Oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. That feels like something she was, I don't know, that doesn't make
Kind of thinking ahead of time.
Especially because this is after they've got the car.
Yes. And after her mom sends her a text and said, hey, we got a problem here. And then you say that. But the fact that you would even schedule a tattoo appointment at that point, like what?
Why are you worried about a tattoo right now? And remember, her story is Kaylee is with Zanny.
Yes.
Like, at this time, first.
Yeah. And thank you, Mom of Tuxedos, for 3 months. Love you, MJ, and everyone here. We love you. Thank you so much. But again, I think that she embodies a perfectly entitled brat who was never fully held accountable, because you'll find out who those checks she was cashing. She kept going to cash these checks, right? Like, she's a thief, yet you're still managing to do this when you know, hey, your daughter's been gone a month now, 31 days, and the bells are finally going off, yet you're still just not, It's not registering.
Yeah, and Shakto had an interesting comment. He said that he had heard that they lowered her chair on purpose to make her look like more, small. I don't remember his exact
no
words, but basically
way.
like meek and mild.
Yes, like not someone that could even be capable of doing the things that the state is going to present that she's done. See, that's so interesting. Thank you, Shakto, for sharing that, because it's the little things. And I was just thinking that even the state right now, prosecution, you have to sell it. And I wish she was, like I'm following it. I'm not saying she's bad versus,
Yeah.
you have to capture. And it's a little bit confusing, not confusing like I'm following, but like I think that this could have been presented in a little bit better of a way and sold a little bit better, because unfortunately it really, and that's what we're going to see with Jose, you got to sell it. But she's doing good.
I like when they emotionally capture, like they
Yes.
feel like you can feel their emotion, but
yes. And you kind of walk, like not necessarily walk, but you have to keep them attentive.
Yeah.
As she's driving to the airport, she speaks with a woman, a girl, a young lady by the name of Erica Gonzalez. Gives Erica the impression that Kaylee's in the car with her.
Wow.
When she picks up Amy, she tells Amy that she got a call from Kaylee Anthony that day on her cell phone.
Oh,
right
my
there.
God.
You see that, because if I'm going to believe that, your dad, you last saw her with your dad and he said she's going to be fine, and you believed she was fine, there would be no reason to be going out of your way and with people all of a sudden after you realize, all right, the alarm's rung, that I'm going to make sure I'm incorporating Kaylee in all of these conversations. She's in the car with me. Oh, she was just picked up. Why would you feel the need to even do that?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is she like on the phone and she's like, Kaylee, shh, hold on, mommy's on the phone. You know what I mean? Like, is she? But you're exactly right. If this was really what she says with George and everything, and that's when she was last seen, why would you even be doing this? You wouldn't. We would see George doing these things.
Yes. And she said she believed in that Peacock series that Kaylee was alive and okay that entire time. Then why right then did you make that switch and incorporate and lie about being with Kaylee?
Yeah.
And eventually, Amy Huizenga drops off Casey Anthony at her boyfriend, Tony Lazzaro's apartment. Amy Huizenga, you will hear from the testimony, goes with friends of hers in her car to the Florida Mall. And Cindy Anthony is at home, trying to figure out a way to get in touch with Casey Anthony.
Wow.
And so she goes through items that were left in the car. Kaylee's car seat was in the car. Casey Anthony's shoes are in the car. Some clothes are in the car. There were dryer sheets in the
car.
Yeah, where were they? Like,
you know who else used dryer sheets?
No, it sounds familiar. Who was it?
Gypsy Rose.
Oh.
You know, there were dryer sheets underneath between the fucking mattress and the sheet.
Oh my God, no. I actually didn't. Maybe that, like, I don't know. It sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. But wow.
I only found that out not too long ago. I didn't know that detail either. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
The car. There are items in the trunk, in a bin in the car. There is a bag that Cindy Anthony thought Casey used for work.
Work?
And in that bag is contact information for Amy Huizenga, who Cindy Anthony never met. So Cindy Anthony calls Amy Huizenga and asks if she's seen Casey or Kaylee. Well, Amy just saw Casey. She knows exactly where she is. And even though the two had never met, Cindy Anthony on that day, on July 15th of 2008, is not going to be denied access to her granddaughter to the point where she is tracking down her daughter Casey's friends. Despite some hesitation, and because of the sound in Cindy Anthony's voice, Amy Huizenga agrees to allow Cindy Anthony to come pick her up at the Florida Mall. And Cindy Anthony drives down there, gets Amy in the car, is telling her all about what's been going on. And Amy directs Cindy Anthony to Tony Lazzaro's apartment. Amy goes up to the door with Cindy behind her, knocks on it, and gets Casey Anthony out of there.
Wow.
Kaylee Anthony's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Kaylee?
Poor Cindy.
Yeah.
You will hear that Cindy Anthony basically pulls Casey out of there without her phone, without her belongings. And she gets in the car. They drop Amy off. And at this point, Cindy Anthony is not going to be denied access to her granddaughter, who has now been gone for a month.
Amen.
Casey Anthony tries the same old Zanny story with Cindy, but Cindy Anthony will not be denied access to her granddaughter. And since Casey Anthony is stonewalling, telling her mother she doesn't want to upset Kaylee, she doesn't want to disrupt this routine that she's now in, Kaylee's going to be upset, Cindy has had enough.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's interesting given that interview we watched with Casey. She said she had just spoken to Kaylee. When she called, she wasn't even upset at all. I know that she hasn't seen me throughout a month and she's been kidnapped. But when I spoke to her, she was telling me that she was reading books. She wasn't sad. She wasn't this 2-year-old. Okay. But it's amazing that she would then turn around and also say, I don't want to upset her by even calling you and disrupting her routine. Sure. That at least she's fucking consistent, right? No.
She's creative, dude. She's like Letitia. Like they just come up with the lies so easily. They just come right out, right off the tongue. Ugh.
Yep. Yeah, Abby, I already said earlier I didn't get a chance to send them out yet, but they'll come. Don't worry. And yes, Carolyn Cooper, she was shocked at the verdict, and we're gonna see it when we get to that. But even she was like, "Oh my God."
And decides that the only way I am going to get access to my granddaughter is to get the police involved.
And that's the 911
So
call.
she drives Casey Anthony in her car to a substation of the Orlando Police Department.
Oh, I didn't realize she even drove her to the police station, Allie. Because remember, we heard the first 911 call where she says, I'm trying to get my daughter arrested for like the checks and stealing. She drove her to the effing police station.
I didn't know that at all. It's crazy. But poor Cindy, Melissa.
Yeah. Excuse me. Cindy did everything I would anticipate a mom to do, and she was more of a mom to Kaylee that Casey ever was.
Yeah.
That the only way I am going to get access to my granddaughter is to get the police involved. So she drives Casey Anthony in her car to a substation of the Orlando Police Department, which at that time of the night is closed, and makes her first 911 call from her car, from the parking lot of that Orlando Police Department substation. During the course of this trial, you will hear that first call that Cindy Anthony made to the Orlando Police Department. She wants her daughter arrested. The dispatcher from the Orlando Police Department is trying to determine if there is a crime that's been committed and where that crime has occurred. So in making this inquiry, it is determined that the address on Hope Spring Drive, where the Anthonys live, is actually within the jurisdiction of the Orange County Sheriff, not the Orlando Police Department. And they give Cindy Anthony a choice about whether or not she wants to wait on the side of the road for a deputy to show up or go back to her house and make another call, and she chooses the latter. During this exchange, and while there is some dead air between the dispatcher and Cindy Anthony, you can hear Cindy Anthony threatening to take Kaylee away from Casey. And Casey Anthony asked her for one with it. You will learn that during this exchange, George Anthony, who's been apprised of some of this, not all of it, some of it, calls Lee Anthony, Casey's older brother, and says, "You need to get to the house." So Lee Anthony, who lives in the area, arrives at the house on Hope Spring Drive just before Cindy and Casey Anthony. And as they pull up, they get out, they rush in, he gets no information. There's the car in the garage. He notices himself that there is an overpowering smell, indescribable smell associated with that car. And as they all rush in the house, Cindy Anthony basically tells Lee to get information from your sister. She's not telling me anything. I want her to take me to Kaylee now.
Sorry, hold on. Just want to thank Allie B. Thank you, Allie. I have to say, though, hate him all you want, but Bias is an amazing attorney. Him and Diane Menashe, badass, were a power team in Dr. Wilma Husel's trial. One, thank you so much for the support. That's very kind of you. Two, I don't hate Jose. I understand he has a job to do, and it's easy for us to sit there and dislike him, but that's our feelings towards Casey. I don't like the door he opened, though. That's where I will say I don't like that. I learned after we read the article from Letitia's trial with her lawyers, remember, Allie, like it was very insightful to be able to read their perspective of what they experience as court appointed counsel and the hate and death threats and how they were very satisfied with the outcome. But they, at the end of the day, they have a job to do, and you're entitled to the best defense you could get. And I agree with all that. Like I said, my issue, just I feel the only feelings I have negatively is opening that door for George, and because I don't believe that it's true.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, at some point tonight, if I got the opportunity, when he gave, like, okay, so when they decided to go with this alternate suspect theory, which a lot of attorneys do, but they decided on George, if he came up with the idea, which maybe he did, let's just say he did, do you think Casey, like, even took a second to think maybe I shouldn't go along with it? Do you think she just immediately was like, okay, save my own butt, or do you think she's the one who came up with it?
I do not think that Jose would have given her that. I think that is, I don't know if he would be allowed to do that. I think it was Casey, through a lot of manipulation and numerous conversations, because we have to remember Jose goes back when she was first arrested. He was just someone she overheard someone else who was, hey, like, who's your turn? Okay, I'm gonna try to him. Okay. And so he would have been there from the beginning of all of the stories. And I think after I don't know if it came after the grand jury, but after she found out, that's when all of a sudden, all right, I got to tell you the truth of what happened. And this is this story, because I don't think
he couldn't just make it up, but he could guide her in the direction of,
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And kind of, that's what I wondered, if maybe she had said some things and then he was like, okay, well, is it possible that this could have happened? And then they go down that road, or, you know what I mean? Something like that. But because we did see it, even if you think about Leilani with Danny, they kind of did that. The attorney did that. In Megan's, they did that with Hunter. And in Delphi, they wanted to, but the judge ruled there was no alternate suspect theory allowed in court. So it's interesting.
It is really interesting, but I don't think he would have been able to just come out of the blue and said, hey, we're going to go with this.
No.
You're not allowed to, like, just straight out lie like that, from what I'm understanding. Like, there's gray area, but not like that. I think it was Casey who eventually made that story up, and he used it.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Just something I was curious what your thoughts were.
And that's why I'm curious to watch, as especially with his opening statement, to watch that body language and to observe. Hi, Kayla.
Shortly thereafter, Cindy Anthony makes her second 911 call, which you will hear. This time it goes to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And she again talks about having her daughter arrested and mentions at that time a possible missing 3-year-old. The dispatcher, in trying to get some information, elicits from Cindy Anthony that her daughter, Casey, will not tell her where Kaylee is. So when patrol units of the Orange County Sheriff's Office are initially dispatched to this call, they're unsure whether or not this is a stolen vehicle call. Is this some other theft call? Is this a domestic incident? Because while Cindy Anthony is waiting, and it does take a while for the sheriff's office to arrive based on the priority levels that they give calls, Lee Anthony is talking to Casey Anthony, who is now in her role. And Lee Anthony is trying to convince Casey Anthony to just take mom, Cindy, to Kaylee. What's the problem? This is going to happen anyway. Why are you doing this? To the point where Lee Anthony eventually engages in what can only be termed as a role-playing episode with his sister, where Lee Anthony pretends to be the police officer and says, "Miss Anthony, good evening.
What?
I see that you're having a problem here with your mother. Why don't we just resolve this? You take us to the child and..."
What?
I'm confused, huh?
They did a role and her had a role playing? Hold on, I need to jump back a second. What?
I guess if he's like, what's going to happen, Casey? She's calling the cops. They're going to tell you anyways. Or, I don't know. Yeah, let's hear it again.
Okay.
Mom, Cindy, to Kaylee. What's the problem? This is going to happen anyway. Why are you doing this? To the point where Lee Anthony eventually engages in what can only be termed as a role-playing episode with his sister, where Lee Anthony pretends to be the police officer and says, "Miss Anthony, good evening. I see that you're having a problem here with your mother. Why don't we just resolve this? You take us to the child and everything will be fine. We'll all go home. We'll all be happy."
Okay, all right. I get it. Now I understand it. Like, what, why don't you just tell mom where she is? The cops are literally coming. How do you think this is going to play out? Like, they're going to come in. Hey, Casey,
right.
It's Kaylee, where, let's get this resolved. Simple as that. Now it makes sense. All right.
Right.
Let's stop for a moment. It's been going for about an hour and a half. Let jurors take a break. We're going to take a recess. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take a 15-minute recess at this time. I'm going to ask you not to discuss this case among yourselves nor with anyone else. Please remember all of my previous admonitions. Okay, state recognized persons jury. That's the defense. Members of the jury, did you heed all my previous admonitions? Ms. Burdick, you may continue.
I like this judge.
Me too. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. I like you could just tell his energy, right? You're someone I'm sure who has a lot of stories and I would love to sit down over dinner with. Like, I could just tell I like him.
He's soulful.
Yeah. Yes. Soulful. Yep.
At the break, we were speaking of Lee Anthony's efforts to convince his sister Casey of her need to just tell Cindy, their mother, where Kaylee Anthony was. That resisting, fighting, just not giving the information was counterproductive and would ultimately result in the same ending regardless. That whether or not Casey did it, or Lee did it, or the police did it, that they were all going to see Kaylee that night. However, in a pattern that is repeated throughout this case, when Casey Anthony's lie can no longer stand, when she can't get out of the corner that she has painted herself into, when her back is up against the wall, and when the stakes increase, what does Casey Anthony do?
What does she do?
What does she do?
What'd she do?
Casey Anthony comes up with a new, a bigger, and a better lie.
No, don't you shake your head left and no, because you openly admit it's a lie. That's what I don't get right there. You will openly admit, even your defense is going to admit that shit was a lie. So what are you shaking your head about? To make sure that the jury can see you? No, you guys have it wrong.
She just can't handle being spoken about in a negative way, I think, and it's her ego, you know what I mean, is taking over.
She got the Tisha logic, right? When you get caught in one lie, you make it bigger and bigger, and it's terrifying that someone with something so serious can really think you're going to lie your way out of this.
I know. Yeah.
It is at this point, with her back against the wall, with her brother telling her that the result of this disagreement that you are having with our mother will end in our mother's favor, that Casey Anthony first says these words: Kaylee was kidnapped by the babysitter.
Yep, and I think that's very critical, because it's only when her back was up against the wall and Kaylee has now been missing for 31 days and your mom drags you out of the home you're in with another guy and a friend, drives you to the police station, then is calling 911, trying to have your ass in jail. Cops are on their way. Now what? Well, now I'm going to come forward with this. She was kidnapped. Again, if I'm even being open-minded to what you currently say the truth is, that doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know what she was thinking, and it's pretty shocking she got away with it. And what does it embolden her to do in the future if you know she's guilty and gets away with it? That's the case, right? Because we're at the beginning, I understand, but yeah.
Right. MK says, does she have a bicycle helmet underneath that hair? I can't. She got that old bump it, the early 2000s bump it.
She got the big bump it there.
Yeah, the large, extra large one.
Yeah. We need an infomercial, Melissa.
Yeah, I know, right? We should do it. Fuck her, man. I think she may have posted something. Did you get notified for something on Substack?
I don't know. I meant to go look because you had mentioned that, because I've been bad at emails the last couple of days. But actually, I'll look while we're watching in just a second.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay.
Babysitter that nobody has ever seen, that nobody ever saw, that her parents didn't know, that her brother had never heard of. Kaylee has been kidnapped by Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. And upon hearing this information, all Kaylee's Uncle Lee could think of was nothing. He goes into vapor lock. He can't believe his ears. He has to focus now on solving this problem. And even though Cindy Anthony, the evidence will show, had to realize that her daughter had lied and lied and lied and lied for 31 days about where she was, about where Kaylee was, about what they were doing. At that moment, Cindy Anthony had to believe her daughter. Although her first response, according to the testimony that you'll hear from Lee Anthony, is, "What did you do?" Her first response directed at Casey Anthony, "What did you do?" And at that point, this story, the evidence will show, had its desired effect to take the focus off of Casey Anthony. Her mother was in her face. Her brother is in her face. How do you get out of that? You tell another lie. Cindy Anthony goes into an all-out panic. At this point, 911, again, the third time on the phone, and you will hear Cindy Anthony's panic 911 call to the Orange County Sheriff, the third call she made that day. And this time she is hysterical. Cindy Anthony wants Casey Anthony to speak to the dispatcher on the phone. You can hear the exchange, and then you can hear Casey Anthony get on the phone like nothing.
Yeah, no, oh my God. We've listened to that 911 call. That is the calls. That is how he started this series, okay? And for her to shake her head like, no, it wasn't nothing to me. We heard your mom in a frantic finding out that Kaylee had been missing for 31 days. What do you mean she's kidnapped? What do you mean? And it was genuine emotion. It was even emotional to listen to. And then you get Casey on the phone and, hello? Yeah, like, so I haven't seen her in 31 days. Why haven't you called 911? Why? I was trying to go through other avenues. But yeah. And now that you're cornered and your mom dragged you out of your boyfriend's house from partying, now, yeah, all right, fine. Are you kidding me? You were emotionless.
Yep, you're 100% right. It was such a stark difference between the two, her and her mom. And so I pulled it up on the computer because Melissa and I talked about you guys during this series. If she posts anything new or whatever, we'll just like put it in as little bonus new things.
Yes.
And you're right, she did. And it's just like stuff about women's health, like, abortion bans and things like that. We can look at deeper later. I mean, it's just two short little posts, but you're right, she did. She looks like she's trying to be like vocal for more progressive laws, like against abortion bans and things like that. But
oh God. Yeah, Cindy was beside herself. Casey, no, and they're gonna play the 911 calls, and that's why we didn't want to go over all of the calls with the family. There's more video visits because they're going to show it anyway. So we're going to be watching it anyway. But how are you going to shake your head? No, because basically what you're trying to say there, Casey, even with your little head shake is, oh, well, okay. I may not have sounded it, but you don't know what I was feeling.
Yeah. We're all going to hear it in a second, Casey. So whatever. And also, that's kind of eerie, her speaking out about like abortion laws and stuff. I don't like that.
Yep, neither do I.
Okay.
With the attitude, why do you people want to talk to me? I don't want to talk to them. During this call, Cindy Anthony tells the dispatcher from the Orange County Sheriff's Office that her granddaughter was kidnapped. I cannot find my granddaughter. Something is wrong. It smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car. As you will learn, as this trial unfolds, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, as do all police agencies, keep a almost second by second accounting of their response to a call. You will learn that the first officer that arrived at the Anthony residence was Corporal Rendon Fletcher. Now, Corporal Fletcher's dispatch was to the second call. So he's not completely apprised until he gets there of the seriousness of this call. Eventually, after learning from Lee Anthony and Cindy Anthony and Casey Anthony in the home that Kaylee is missing and this Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez has Kaylee, the Orange County Sheriff's Office begins to gather information about locating this person. And one of the things that is told to them by Casey Anthony is that Zanny, or Zenaida, lives at the Sawgrass Apartments, which is off of Conway Road in Orlando. So deputies with the Orange County Sheriff's Office asked Casey to show them the last place she saw her daughter 31 days ago. And she gets into the car with Adriana Acevedo, a deputy with the Orange County Sheriff. Brendan Fletcher, the corporal that first responded to the call, follows in case he needs to do follow-up with the people at the Sawgrass Apartments. And they drive in to the location at the direction of Casey Anthony. She points out the apartment where she last saw her daughter, Kaylee, and says, "That's where I dropped Kaylee off on June 9th, 2008.
She goes long periods of time without blinking.
She does. She's kind of just in a freaking trance, just looking straight ahead, but more like a rage. I think it's like more,
Yeah.
she's pissed.
Yeah, she looks angry as hell, and I think maybe she's, like, glaring and not really just looking. That's why she's not blinking. You know, if you
Right.
squint your eyes just a
Yep.
little, like, kinda glaring. Wow. Because I was watching trying not to blink until she did, and I it was hard. It's getting hard.
We're doing challenges over here. You're really trying to get into her mindset.
I'm like, "Dude, it's been a minute since her last blink. I'm not gonna blink till she does, and I cannot do it." Trying to gauge, but
Well, and I get like that when I am angry, if I'm like looking straight ahead at something, like kind of like because your mind is going so much that you're just kind of like in a trance almost.
Yeah.
And Fletcher finds somebody with this apartment complex, somebody in management or maintenance, and it's determined that while this is July, now 16th probably, 2008, nobody's lived in that apartment since February of 2008. Prior occupants were evicted. So when these deputies from the Orange County Sheriff's Office returned to the Anthony home with Casey and no Kaylee, what does Cindy Anthony do? She continues to insist that something be done. That Casey is lying, that somebody needs to arrest her. She needs to tell me where Kaylee is. During this process, deputies send somebody to Tony Lazzaro's apartment where Casey's cell phone was. And her belongings were later retrieved by her brother, who went to the apartment. Kaylee Anthony was not there either. One of the things that Casey Anthony told them had to do with having contact information for this Zanny person in her phone. So the deputies retrieve that phone and attempt to get any information that night off of it that they can in an effort to find this person who allegedly has Casey Anthony's daughter, Kaylee. They ask Casey Anthony to put pen to paper tell us everything that you can tell us about what happened and about this person that you say kidnapped your daughter. They were
Look at
there
the judge.
to help find you.
Yeah.
So what does the evidence show Casey Anthony did?
What'd she do?
At the first opportunity given to her to put pen to paper?
Ooh. We
She
both.
writes,
I want to see it.
I know. I'm like, oh, what'd she write? Now she's confronted again with another lie. All right, what'd she write?
2008, between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. I, Casey Anthony, took my daughter, Kaylee Marie Anthony, to her nanny's apartment. June 9th. On Monday, June 9th, 2008. The first words written to the Orange County Sheriff about the disappearance of Kaylee Anthony are a lie.
Mm.
This statement is single-spaced, 4 pages, and during the course of this trial, you will have the opportunity to review it, and you will see that it's 4 pages of lies. The patrol supervisors at the scene of the Anthonys that morning, July 16th now, 2008, decided that they needed to call a detective out to the house to follow up in this investigation, to tell the detective what their findings were, at least preliminarily. While they're waiting for the arrival of the detective, the sergeant on the scene, Reginald Hosey, took Casey Anthony on a short walk. There's a cul-de-sac that is 2 or 3 houses down from her residence, and asked her, is this a domestic situation? Is it just a matter of you don't want your mom to have access to your child? And Detective Hosey is left with the impression from Casey Anthony that night that this is no big deal. And that her child is fine. At 4 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, July 16th, Detective Yuri Melich, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, first arrives at the Anthony house. He gets a copy, or he reviews that handwritten statement of Casey Anthony, and he asks to speak with her. She talks with him in a room in the house. He ultimately tape records their conversation, and he says, is this true? Do you want to change anything on this statement? And Casey Anthony says, no, sir, no way. This is what happened. I'm telling you the truth.
Mm.
One of the things that she had relayed to the Orange County Sheriff's Office was that she had a phone, another phone that was lost at Universal Studios where she worked, that there were people who were employees of Universal Studios who she had told about this situation. Detective Melich again asked if Casey Anthony could take him to the location where she says she last saw her daughter at the Sawgrass Apartments, and she takes him right back to that same place where she took the patrol officers. He asks if there are other people related to this Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez that he could contact in an effort to locate Kaylee Anthony. She takes him in the area of another residence, supposedly of Zenaida Gonzalez's mother. No one is contacted, nobody is found. They return to the Hope Spring house with no Kaylee.
I don't think I can, Allie B. From the site.
Casey Anthony goes.
I was just responding actually in the chat too. I was like, I don't think you can.
Well, no, I wouldn't mind speeding it up if it could when it's that slow, like that it's easy, but it's not giving me the option.
So you can handle the 1.25. It's just like the faster ones that you don't like.
Yeah. Right. But because she does talk slow with a lot of breaks.
Yeah, she does. Some people sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Some people are easier than others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Investigation. And that investigation begins at Universal Studios. Yuri Melich contacts a employee of Universal Studios by the name of Leonard Tutura in an effort to determine where Casey Anthony works, where these other people that she said can be contacted work, how they can be contacted. And Detective Melich learns Casey Anthony doesn't work at Universal Studios. Casey Anthony hasn't worked at Universal Studios for years.
There goes the glaring.
People that she told you were here, yep. They don't work here.
But there's a reason that I had to lie. I'm still the victim, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, she does not like being called out on her shit either.
And I really think it's because she always got away with it. And that's why I say all the time, it's so dangerous to let someone get away with shit all the time. I saw it with Letitia. Same thing with her. Same thing you're seeing with Wade Wilson currently, right? It's never a good thing. Hold people accountable, even if you love them. Hold them freaking accountable. Because this is the first time she's ever been sitting here being held accountable. But guess what? She still got away with it. And that's what circles back to a conversation I know we've had where it's like, why would she come out on social media and do this? Because it's that duper's delight. She's gotten away with it so much to now she believes it. I believe she believes to an extent her own lies. And it's that cockiness. You can't just kind of go off and be happy that your life wasn't taken, because I was shocked that she was never attacked, but she's not satisfied with it. If Gypsy Rose can go out there and get the support and money she's gotten, so can I.
Yep. But yeah, you're right. If you love someone, hold them accountable even more. You know what I mean? That's how I feel, because it's dangerous. It creates monsters. And it's not just because sometimes moms will do it with their kids. Like I could imagine Cindy doing, we see the enabling a little bit already. But then I think people like Letitia get away with it because by everyone, just because they're so obnoxious and hard to deal with, it's a lot easier and not deal with them, so people tend to do that.
Yep, absolutely. And she was just a spoiled, entitled brat. You could tell she was.
Oh, yeah.
So Detective Melich, with the assistance of his supervisor, Sergeant John Allen, and another detective by the name of Appy Wells, made contact with Casey. The first contact is made by Detective Melich over the phone, where he calls Casey Anthony and says, "You work at Universal Studios, and this is the information," verifying what she had told him before. She's like, "Yes, absolutely, of course. Yes, you're right. That's it."
Oh my God.
He knows it's a lie. Maybe they all have it wrong. Maybe if Casey comes out to Universal Studios, we can clear this all up. Maybe we're not getting the names right. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. And she is contacted and agrees to come out to Universal Studios. So Detective Melich is there with Leonard Tutora, and John Allen and Appy Wells go to the Anthony house, pick up Casey Anthony, and she accompanies them to Universal Studios. She directs them where to park, just has idle chit-chat with them on the way, and they get to the security gate at Universal Studios, and she's denied access. They're suggesting she doesn't work here. They ask her for her identification. She tells them, I forgot it, I don't have it. Leonard Tutura, who's there with Yuri Melich, allows them to come in anyway. And there, Casey Anthony is supposed to show them the office where she works and where she lost her phone, or where there might be some information about Zenaida Gonzalez. And you will hear testimony that Casey Anthony walks with purpose through that security gate and heads towards an administration building, walks in, and true to what we've seen, or you will see during this case, is at the end of the hall. And she puts her hands in her back pocket and smiles.
Oh.
All right, I don't work here.
Why are you disputing this? You know,
it's all recorded. It's on body cam. Like, what are you? And look at her. And that tells you again, she's mad at this lady for just stating what happened. And this is what fucking happened. Are you kidding me? We heard you even explain when you're being recorded at Universal. Why'd you bring us here? Oh, I was just thinking about places that Kaylee may go, and I wanted to ask the security guard, how did you? Only someone who's gotten away with things to that extent would even feel capable of getting in the police car, driving out there, going through all of this with hello, do you not realize how this is going to end? No, she doesn't, because she's always gotten away with it.
She literally looks like Melissa right here, even with the little lip poke, like her bottom lip being pushed out a little bit. She looks like she's about to cross her arms, stomp her foot, and then stomp off. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep, I'm taking my toys and going home.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Unreal.
25 years old. Just interesting.
It is.
Wells and Melich then speak with Casey Anthony on tape in a conference room at Universal Studios, where she admits to them that she's been lying to them about working at Universal. Because that's the lie the evidence will show they caught her in.
Hey, Lil Rod.
But she will not waver at that point from her story about the name. So in an effort to find this person she insists exists, the detectives take her from Universal and show her pictures in the driver's license database of individuals with the name Zenaida Gonzalez. She doesn't know any of them. None of these Zenaida Gonzalez's on your driver's license pictures are my Zenaida Gonzalez. At this point, since Casey Anthony admitted to them that she lied during the process of this investigation, she was arrested. And at this point, the investigation, by necessity, takes two different paths. There is the investigation that continued into attempting to locate this person that Casey Anthony insisted had her daughter. This is Zenaida Gonzalez. There were tips and phone calls and sightings of Kaylee Anthony all across the country, on airplanes, in gas stations, all over the place. Tips that were followed up by members of the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, local police agencies in different states know Kaylee Anthony and know Zenaida Gonzalez.
Hey, Jen. Me too, Bree. I completely agree.
That night, July 16th of 2008, with the permission of George and Cindy Anthony, the Orange County Sheriff's Office seized Casey Anthony's white Pontiac Sunfire. And you will hear testimony from crime scene technicians and ultimately the individuals who evaluated and analyzed evidence taken from that truck during the course of this trial.
Hey, William.
You will also hear that the trash bag that Simon Birch had thrown out of the car the day before, when George Anthony picked up the Sunfire at the Johnson Wrecker, was located in the dumpster when George Anthony went with a missing persons civilian investigator to find it. Was there something in that garbage that would help the Orange County Sheriff's Office find his granddaughter? George Anthony wanted to know.
Yes, MK. Yes, freak.
On Thursday, July 17th, the Orange County Sheriff's Office had one of their cadaver dogs, which you will hear during the course of this trial is a dog that is specially trained in detecting the scent of human remains. Do a sweep around the car. Deputy Jason Forgy, who has many years of experience in handling police canines and who has worked with his dog Garrus prior to Garrus's recent retirement for a long period of time, took the dog around the car, at which point Garrus alerted, give a trained final alert, which will be explained to you, on the trunk of the car as having the odor of human remains. Later that day, Garrus was taken to the Anthony residence, where again, George and Cindy Anthony had given permission to the members of the Orange County Sheriff's Office to look in their yard to see if there was any evidence that would help them learn what happened to Kaylee. Where was Kaylee? And then again, in the backyard, near Kaylee's Playhouse. Garrett's alerted to the odor of human decomposition.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Deputy Forgy had asked.
I didn't realize the dog also alerted in the yard.
Yeah, I never heard that before.
Oh, interesting.
Like, some of the evidence I've of course heard about, but there have been several things I've not known, like, already since we've started that I've learned. So
Right. Well, and I agree, Brandy. I said that like an hour ago, like the opening, I think she's going into great detail. And there's nothing wrong with the great detail versus she's very slow, monotone, and that especially for me, but granted I have ADHD, I'm like, oh, versus even when the judge speaks, I'm like, yeah, because he speaks with life, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, let's go on a break. Yeah, like just because he said it,
yeah.
But I think it's very important though, because again, you have to sell it. You have to sell it, even like a used car salesman. And I don't want to say that in an insensitive type of way versus this is serious. So if anything should have more, if this is the narrative that you're putting through and you're asking the jury to say, you need to sell it, push it, convince us.
Yeah. And it actually might be a good thing we can't speed this up because we're watching as the jury watched it. And this is maybe part of why she didn't make, was as a convincing of a case, if you think about it, because when someone is more emotional and like with it, I don't know, it's just different. It hits different.
But yeah, I'm not skipping over anything. I'm watching all of it because everything's very important. And exactly like if you want to know what went wrong here, you have to listen to all of it. But there's a lot within here that I'm finding out that I didn't know. So it'll get moving though. She's just got to
We don't care. We don't care if we're doing this for a year. No, I'm serious.
We really don't care. Yeah. Well, and that's the problem, Princess Gary. We know everything she's saying within it is true. It's just the presentation of it that I think that she's not marking the bar. And then exactly 2112, you have Bias who comes out like a stick of damn dynamite.
Yeah.
Right. She's dull and lacking the emotion, and it's a big thing. It's a very big thing. Hi, Meat Feeds.
I think that, if you're going to be prosecuting a lead prosecutor in any state, because these cases happen all over, then you should be charismatic.
Yeah. You got to be able to sell it. You got to be able to sell it. You got to be able to use the words and then fluctuation of your voice and that emotion so that the jury knows what emotion to feel at certain moments. Also, not saying that you're putting it in their head versus, right? Like if you want, I understand moments of silence, like to allow a reaction, but you can't have that in between every sentence type of deal, and you're not, you got to drive it.
Yep.
Please don't say she's ugly, Marcel. Like, I don't know if you're talking about the prosecutor, if you're talking about the prosecutor or Casey, but like, there's so much to address. I don't even want to focus on the looks. The bump it as far as I'll go.
Asked that another canine handler, this one from the Osceola County Sheriff's Office,
Even Bias is getting tired, yeah.
Brought her cadaver dog to the Anthony home. And her cadaver dog also alerted to the odor of human decomposition near the playhouse in the Anthony's backyard. Now you hear that crime scene technicians dug up in the areas where the dogs alerted did not find Kaylee. Evidence from the car was also preserved: hair, air samples, samples from the carpet lining the trunk, samples from the spare tire cover were cut and collected in tin cans by members of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Samples of Casey Anthony's DNA Lee Anthony's DNA, Cindy and George Anthony's DNA, and a hairbrush that was used by Kaylee to get a sample of her DNA was obtained. The hair and other debris collected from Casey Anthony's Pontiac Sunfire was sent to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's laboratory in Quantico, Virginia. And you will hear that the evidence and testimony in this case establishes that forensic science has discovered that there is a distinctive band of discoloration that occurs at the root end of a hair under very specific and unique circumstances. According to these scientific studies, you will hear this artifact occurs only and has only been seen in hairs taken from decomposing human bodies.
Wow.
Say that again. Well, you repeat it because I was typing a comment.
So there was a hair that was found that it has this specific marking on it that only happens on a decomposing body.
Yes.
In the trunk.
Because they're going to have the expert testimony about that, specifically about that, and the difference between a strand of hair taken from a human being while they're still alive versus post-mortem. It's very interesting, Allie.
That is so interesting. And that's evidence, I've just, wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I didn't know before this case that you can determine from a hair follicle, well, did this come from a living human or a deceased human?
Yeah, me neither.
And I feel like she went wrong here as far as she's overloading information, and she's giving a very detailed story, which again, all of this is relevant, but a lot of it's going to come about through the testimony of all of the people up on the stand. And so I wish she would have shortened it down to basic. This is what you're going to find out through the course of this trial. A, B, C, D, E. But she's going between A and B and how we got from A to B, going B to C, how we got B to C. And especially without the emotion, it's very, okay. Like you're giving everything. Yeah.
Of the many hairs that were found in the trunk of the Sunfire, one hair exhibited the classic characteristics that I just described. This supports the prior investigative findings, not only as it relates to the alerts by the trained cadaver dogs, but also the ability of those people who have smelled a dead body before to know what it is. These findings led to the inescapable conclusion that, in fact, a dead body had been in the trunk of Casey Anthony's car. And you will learn that the FBI compared the hair that I just described to hair collected from Kaylee Anthony's hairbrush through the use of mitochondrial DNA, which will be explained during the course of the trial, as well as microscopic analysis, and determined through the unique characteristics of the hair that they were indistinguishable from those of Kaylee Anthony. The testimony in this case regarding the analysis of this hair will convince you that it was the hair of Kaylee Marie Anthony that was found in that trunk. Nevertheless, in order to further establish the nature of the odor emanating from Casey Anthony's trunk at that point, the Orange County Sheriff's Office contacted an individual who is the leading expert in the field of the biochemistry of the odor of human decomposition. That individual, Arpad Voss, Dr. Arpad Voss, will be testifying for you during this trial. And in 20 years of studying the chemistry of the odor of decomposition, he has spent the last 10 concentrating on identifying the chemical composition of the very distinctive odor of decomposition, of human decomposition. Dr. Voss will tell you that when he opened this can that was collected by the Orange County Sheriff's Office that contained samples of the spare tire cover in the trunk of Casey Anthony's car, he immediately recognized the unmistakable odor of human decomposition. Now you will learn that his research and others' research into this area is ongoing. And he will tell you about the instrumental analysis that he performed on the odor from the substance, from this piece of spare tire cover taken from the trunk of Casey Anthony's car. What you will learn is that these compounds are consistent with a decompositional event occurring in the trunk of the car, possibly of human origin. But Dr. Voss will also tell you that during his analysis of those pieces of spare tire cover, that he found something unexpected. His instrumental analysis found the highest concentration of chloroform that he's ever seen. And while he will tell you that small amounts of chloroform have been found in human decomposition under specific circumstances, his analysis of the evidence in this case showed a concentration of chloroform thousands of times greater than he had seen produced by human decomposition alone. The amount that he detected simply cannot be accounted for by human decomposition alone. You also hear that different sections of this same spare tire cover, the samples from it were sent to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Crime Laboratory, and they independently confirmed through separate analysis the presence of chloroform. Upon receipt of this information, the Orange County Sheriff's Office detectives contacted the forensic computer analysts with their agency. You will learn that of the items collected from the Anthony household, one was a desktop computer. The hard drive from that desktop computer had been in the possession of the Orange County Sheriff's Office since July 16th or 17th of 2008. And when this information was passed along to these examiners, based on Dr. Voss's findings, which occurred at the end of August or beginning of September of 2008, the computer analysts were asked to perform a keyword search on the hard drive of that desktop computer for the word chloroform.
This is going to be a big thing. And this is where I remember, and I told you, like, I remember Cindy trying to cover for Casey a bit, and it was specifically about this chloroform search, but I'm curious to see what I remember versus what I'm going to see going in now.
Yes, and it's very interesting that the amount in the car was, you know, thousands, the highest concentration the guy testing it had ever seen, and thousands times higher than what it would be just from like normal human decom.
Yes, how crazy is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, chlorophyll. It's ridiculous. Oh my God.
And you will hear, in this case, testimony from Sandra Osborne, who is a forensic computer examiner.
Oh, wow, Jade.
That her analysis of the computer revealed searches on March 17th and March 21st of 2008. What you will hear is that internet searches were conducted by a user in the Anthony home using Google. You will hear that on Monday, March 17th of 2008, between 1:43 and 1:55 in the afternoon, Google searches were done on that computer for the words chloroform, alcohol, acetone, and peroxide.
Mm.
You will hear that on Friday, March 21st, 2008, between the hours of 2:16 and 2:28 p.m., Google searches were conducted for, quote, how to make chloroform, quote, how to make chloroform with a different spelling,
wow,
quote, self-defense, quote, household weapons, quote, neck breaking, quote, shovel. In addition to those Google searches, there were Wikipedia searches conducted on March 17th, 2008, between the hours of 1:53 and 1:58 p.m. for the words inhalation, chloroform, alcohol, acetone, peroxide, hydrogen peroxide, and death. On Friday, March 21st, 2008, between 2:16 and 2:28 p.m., a Wikipedia search was done for the word shovel.
Ooh.
Also on that date, there were searches using websites blogspot.com, scispot.com, druglibrary.org, instructables.com for these words, quote, making weapons out of household products, quote, chloroform habit, quote, chloroform, quote, how to make chloroform, and quote, chloro2.
Wow.
You will learn that Cindy Anthony was working on those days.
Yep.
At those times. You will learn on March 21st, George Anthony was working on those days and at those times.
That's going to be really important to remember that, Allie. George and Cindy were both working, logged, clocked in at the time of those searches.
Even though Cindy, like you said, took the rap for her?
I remember Cindy trying to find a way to take the blame for those searches, but not physical type in search versus clickable things and looking up chlorophyll and then like, oh, this must have popped up and I clicked it from there type of deal. That's just what I remember off the top of my head.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
And you will learn from the forensic computer examiners that the context, searches surrounding, before and after these searches were done on that on that desktop computer at the Anthony home, reveal that there could have been no other user making those searches than Casey Anthony.
Don't shake your head no.
You will hear that despite the mounting evidence that made it more and more obvious as we got into September of 2008 that Kaylee Anthony was dead, that the Orange County Sheriff's Office and many thousands of private citizens continue to search for her.
Right, Bree? There's so much that comes out that I totally forgot. It's taking a long time for her to get it out, but there's a lot within here. Okay, thank you, Jamie.
These search efforts, you will hear, in many areas were hampered by the passage of time and standing water that was created by Tropical Tropical Storm Faye in late August of 2008. Many additional attempts were made to locate this Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She's never been seen. George and Cindy Anthony held out hope that their precious granddaughter would be found alive. However, on a rainy Thursday morning, December 11th, 2008, the Orange County Sheriff's Office received a call from a dispatcher at Orange County Utilities. The Sheriff's Office at that time was informed that a tiny human skull had been found in the woods off.
What do you, sorry, I have to stop there for a second, because I was waiting, Allie, to see if there would be a shift in her demeanor when we got to this part, to the all the way to the ending of when the body was recovered. And I was waiting to see, is her expression going to be different? Is it going to elicit emotion? But instead I see that same pouting, looking like you have a mouth of retainers in, and just your head left. So it's the same as when you were lying. That's what's interesting to me. I am seeing the same expression and body language out of you that I saw when she was repeating things that we know you did and were a lie. So that tells me, if it's the same reaction, the same emotion, the same expression, what's going to make me believe that there was something deeper with her death, if that makes sense.
Well, it's crazy you say that, because even my heart sunk. You know what I mean? It even made like, or my stomach turned or something. Like, I felt it emotionally when I hear that little skull was recovered.
Yeah.
You would expect her mother would have some sort of, I don't know. You're right.
Even just hearing it, and so if I were to believe what you're saying, okay, put aside like, okay, well, freak, I lied for this reason and this reason. Okay. Then the moment they bring up finding your daughter's body, you wouldn't have known, according to your narrative. Where is that? Oh, that heartbreak. But nope, we just got the same effing face and the head shaking left to right.
Yeah.
Office received a call from a dispatcher at Orange County Utilities. The Sheriff's Office at that time was informed that a tiny human skull had been found in the woods off of Suburban Drive.
Hi, Pipsqueak.
This was in walking distance of Kaylee's home and within sight of the elementary school where she would be at this very moment if she were alive.
Oh. Where's that emotion?
Examination
wow.
revealed that the body.
You're mentioning it was right across the street from the elementary school. She would be, if she were alive, she would have started elementary school, and no emotion as you're hearing that, and the thought of your child never getting to experience that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad.
Come on.
Of the elementary school where she would be at this very moment if she were alive. Examination of that scene revealed that the body of Kaylee Marie Anthony had been wrapped in a Winnie the Pooh blanket, stuffed into multiple garbage bags, shoved into a laundry bag, and thrown into a littered swamp like she was just another piece of trash. A forensic anthropologist will describe to you that all that remained of Kaylee Anthony were her scattered bones, remnants of the clothes that she was wearing, and pieces of the plastic bags that had entombed her.
there shouldn't be a need to shake your head no. Okay, if you want to have that reaction, but again, no, 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 all throughout opening statements, no, 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 no. What are you saying no? You're saying no to that. That's not even about you. That's about, this is the condition her body was found in. So what are you even saying no about? Or is it just your defense mechanism at this point?
Yeah, well, even if it is, like, dude, this case, all eyes are on you at this moment. Get it together. Like, you
Yeah.
know, he did tell her to be careful of that. And I guarantee you that this was talked about. She repeatedly shook her head no. Think about when Letitia had reactions to what was being said, or Leilani.
I will bolt you to the bottom of this desk.
Yeah.
He's like, I will literally chain you to the bottom of this desk if you even continue with like flipping off and doing hand gestures and no, enough. It's ridiculous. Oh my goodness.
Thrown into a littered swamp like she was just another piece of trash. A forensic anthropologist will describe to you that all that remained of Kaylee Anthony were her scattered bones, remnants of the clothes that she was wearing, and pieces.
Yep. What'd she say? I don't want to hear this. Did you see that, Ollie?
No, I was changing my thumbnail, so I was away for a second. Can you back it up like 10 seconds?
Take a look.
A forensic anthropologist will describe to you that all that remained of Kaylee Anthony were her scattered bones, remnants of the clothes that she was wearing, and pieces.
Yep.
Of the
something like that.
That had entered.
I don't want to hear this. Well, too fucking bad.
Oh my God.
Who do you think you are?
And it wasn't like she was saying it to him. Like, is this like something that you're trying to put on an act of, oh, I can't take this.
Right.
Too much.
I don't want to hear this. Well,
yeah.
Okay. Where's the anger too? Like the anger that I'm seeing is like from yourself. You're very closed off. You can tell like she's closing off her body language. We do that when we feel defensive, because that is what our body's trained to do, is you close off your core area, your chest and stuff, in case there was an attack, a physical attack. We just subconsciously do it. That is the she is closed in, sunken in, and defensive, arms crossed. She's protecting that core zone. But where is that anger towards what happened to your child? According to you, you'd want that justice for your child. And that is what happened to your child. And that is the truth of what remains of your child. And you shaking your head the same way you shook your head when they're talking about your bullshit universal lies tells me there's no difference in that head shake. It's not just the shaking of the head. It's the same response, the same lack of emotion. It's nothing different. And which tells me it's all the same lie.
My God, I think it's just to make the jury, this is her moment, but you're exactly right. She's been mad the whole time. Yeah. Like listening to what's being said about her. You don't see that
to her. Yeah.
Yes. And why are you not fighting for justice for your daughter? That's we've been talking about that since the beginning. I just don't understand it.
Neither do I.
Especially if that was true at all, or if you wanted to convince people it was true. Either way, wouldn't you want that person to pay for what they had done and do more than just fighting back in court, asking the police, why aren't you pressing charges, trying to prove it, trying to gather the evidence? Like, you see families do investigations all the time and gather evidence and stuff. You'd be doing that.
Yes, exactly. Not just, it wasn't me, but I have no desire to figure out who done it, right? Or press those charges and make sure they're held accountable.
Yeah.
We got like 8 minutes left, guys, of opening statements for the state. So, all right, let's see.
Okay.
For 10 days, crime scene personnel from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation painstakingly worked on their hands and knees, sifting, digging, resifting collecting evidence and collecting the remains of Kaylee Anthony to make certain that she would no longer suffer the indignity of lying in a wooded swamp. The evidence by its very appearance, and you will see hundreds of the thousands of photographs taken in this case. And by its very appearance, you will be able to conclude that Kaylee spent many months in that swamp. Roots encircled the blanket, grew through the blanket. They encircled her hair. They wrapped themselves into the bags that she was in.
Roots. Oh my God.
As you have seen in the photograph taken at the scene on December 11th of 2008, duct tape covered the nose and mouth area of that tiny human skull. The cotton and polyester backing of that duct tape was disintegrating in the harsh environment in which she lay. You will learn that 3 pieces of overlapping duct tape covered the nose and mouth of Kaylee Anthony. You will learn that the duct tape was placed on her prior to decomposition as it held the mandible or the jaw to the head.
Oh.
You will learn that the duct tape was stuck in the hair, indicating that Kaylee's killer never intended that it be removed. You will learn that the brand and style of the duct tape are distinctive and not widely available. You will learn that the Orange County Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant on the Anthony residence late in the evening of December 11th of 2008 and discovered that the gas cans that Casey Anthony took from her dad on June 23rd of 2008 had a piece of duct tape identical in appearance to the tape covering Kaylee's nose and mouth.
Wow.
You will learn that a chemist from the Federal Bureau of Investigation determined that the tape was manufactured at the same time using the same methods. You will learn that the duct tape, identical in appearance to that on Kaylee Anthony's face, was used at the end of July on a missing child poster of Kaylee Anthony.
Oh my God.
Allie, yes. I forgot. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yes. The same duct tape to hang the flyers for her.
Wow.
I know.
You will hear that the pieces of shirt that remained and the plastic logo that once appeared on that shirt, "Big Trouble Comes in Small Packages," were captured in photos of Kaylee and Casey Anthony taken in January and March of 2008.
Hey, listen.
Yep.
Because she said in a search warrant done on December 11th of 2008, why, I wonder, did it take that long to do the search warrant on the Anthony home?
I'm not sure if that was the first search warrant or they had multiple search warrants, and maybe on like the second or third time back,
right,
they may have found more.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone in the chat will know better than me, and that's only at the forefront of my mind because I was just watching the Ruby Anthony Hulu series, and I was just listening about how it wasn't the first time around that they found her journal entries. It was the second time, and I'm like, how'd you miss that if it was sitting right on her nightstand the first time, you know? So maybe it wasn't. Yeah, okay, Queen.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. There are 2112, and that's like a hard 2112 says, you know, like, how is it possible that someone does not have severe remorse or guilt, are there really people like this in the world? And something that I've really seen online and in the true crime community the past few years is, oh wow, no, like there are some fucking wild people out here. Wild people out here.
Yeah. Okay.
You will learn that Kaylee's Winnie the Pooh blanket was missing from her house. You will learn that a Whitney design laundry bag was located in the garage of the Anthony home, and the matching bag was missing from the house. You will learn that upon autopsy, there was no evidence of any trauma to Kaylee's bones. And you will learn that the only evidence indicating the cause of death of Kaylee Marie Anthony are the 3 pieces of duct tape covering her nose and mouth. The evidence in this case will establish that there is no other reason for the placement of multiple pieces of duct tape on this child's face, mouth, and nose, other than the specific intent to end that child's life.
So it was on her nose and mouth?
Yes, it was on her nose and mouth.
Wow, okay. It's reminded me a lot of Evelyn's case at Megan Boswell, because they also didn't have like a specific cause of death besides the fact that this foil was so tight on her face. The ME said there's no other reason for it to be as tight as it was. That's
right.
But the defense attorney pressed her, and she finally admitted, because she kept saying that, like, they argued over this. The MEs thought that was the cause of death, and he was pressing for could it not have been she passed away and then it was put on? And she kept saying, no, that makes no sense. Why would you do it so tight? Right. No. And then finally, like, she said, yes, of course, but no, I don't believe that's the case, but.
Right.
So.
And yeah, same Mallory, the roots growing in the damn bags and onto her body. That's crazy that she sat there for so long.
As difficult as it may be for anyone to accept that a mother would intentionally kill her own child, from the evidence that you will hear in this case, there is no other conclusion that can be drawn.
Oh, shut up. You're driving me nuts, shaking your head.
Kaylee Marie Anthony was not kidnapped by a nanny or any other person. No one but Casey Anthony had access to all the pieces of evidence in this case. The duct tape, the laundry bag, the blanket, the shorts, the shirt, the car.
Are you kidding me? What is she saying?
No.
Wow.
That can be drawn. Kaylee Marie Anthony was not kidnapped by a nanny or any other person. No one but Casey Anthony had access to all the pieces of evidence in this case. The duct tape, the laundry bag, the blanket, the shorts, the shirt, the car.
Oh my God.
No, but my dad did. My dad had access to all of it. I'm the victim in this. She's mad for her. I'm sorry, you can tell she is mad for her. She's not mad for Kaylee.
I can't stand the way she's doing her lips too. I'm just like,
I know.
It's infuriating.
It is.
All the pieces of evidence in this case, the duct tape, the laundry bag, the blanket, the shorts, the shirt, the car. No one else lied to their friends, to their family, to investigators. No one else benefited from the death of Kaylee Marie Anthony. Kaylee's death allowed Casey Anthony to live the good life. at least for those 31 days.
She's not able to handle not being able to scream her lies, to have someone else control that narrative and put out the truth. She's literally not able and capable of handling it.
Yep. She's having a physical reaction. Like it's so interesting to watch. And hello, where's her attorney? Are you even seeing this? Like, or do you want her to do this?
I don't know. I don't know. But honestly, if I was a juror, that is a lot. That is very telling to me. It's not like every once in a while she's just giving her head a little shake, because I understand that emotional response if you are being lied on. I get that. But that is not what we're seeing here.
Mm-hmm. It looks like she's putting on an act to me, but yeah, just to look like she's just so distraught and just emotionally broken because of everything she's been through. You know what I mean? Like, that's the vibe I get with when she just did that turn into the sad thing during the no one else had all the evidence. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, we got about a minute left, guys.
At the end of this case, you will have no trouble concluding that Kaylee Anthony was murdered by her mother, Casey Anthony.
There it is again.
Of
course.
Of
all of the evidence and argument in this case, we will be asking you to return a verdict that reflects the truth of what happened to Kaylee Anthony. And that is that Casey Anthony is guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree. Thank you all for your attention.
All right, guys. So that is the state's opening statement, prosecution opening statement. And then tomorrow, over on Allie's tomorrow night, we will do defense's opening statement with a Mr. Jose Baez. But let's just sit for a second. And what did you think, Allie?
Oh my gosh. I have so many thoughts going through it. There's a lot of evidence I didn't know about. So, even more, because I try to erase like what I thought I knew about this. And I was just judging on like the 911 call, her behavior in the calls, like why she would lie for 31 days. And that already made her look bad. But now knowing even the little bit of evidence, which she talked about a lot of things I didn't know, like the hair thing in the car and just a few different things where I was like, wow, now even more so, I'm already leaning towards guilty. But I mean, I get that's not fair, but I'm sorry, it's just where I'm at. And I'm angry, like watching her do this little pouty toddler pissed off mad thing, whatever. It's got me mad. Like I'm getting mad. I can feel my heart. Like now I'm wide awake. I'm ready to rage.
I know. And Cammie, just to let you know, we're covering it. One, we're interested in it. Two, as Casey Anthony comes out on social media, there is a large group of people who may not have followed, may not be educated, and this should be in the forefront, not the narrative she is trying to control and push, and people should remember. But three, sorry, nothing bothers me more than when somebody clicks onto a live that very clearly states what I'm covering, and then it's like, why are you covering this? Respectfully, why'd you click on if you're not interested? But don't come into my chat and question and go back and forth with people in the chat as if like, oh, should I shut this down right now, Cammie? Is this not good for you? Should I end my live? You know what? The series is canceled, guys, because Cammie isn't interested in it. Respectfully, but just go. Come back if you want to come back for something you're interested in, but I don't revolve around you, respectfully. And my community pointed out, Allie, that I always say respectfully when I'm about to say like something
when you're getting mad.
Yes, and now it's always in my head and I realize, ew, I don't want, ew, Cammie, now you're making me feel uncomfortable. I think I should probably go over to Casey's Substack because she's advocating about women's rights right now, and I think you violated mine, honestly. I do not want to kiss any twat, let alone your twat. respectfully.
Respectfully.
See, I'm telling you, they're like, Melissa's serious, and she's gonna lay the hammer down when she starts with respectfully. And now I'm realizing, shit, I do that all the time.
That's so funny. No, but we're covering it because we want to, and we're
Right.
interested in it, and we like real true crime, not just like talking about the rumors and the latest trending case. We want to watch trials and talk about evidence and how the attorneys like get their way in a case. So yeah, it's crazy. Why are you going to click on a video that's like Casey Anthony revisited or whatever the title is, right? And be like, why are we talking about Casey Anthony in here? Well,
why are you going over a case that's so old? Well, clearly we all need to educate ourselves on it. Just like I said at the beginning, because if you take a look at this true crime community with how it's covering active cases and not even known true crime cases, missing child cases, it's a disgrace. And so educating ourselves, taking the time, getting an understanding of the court process, so then as we move on to other trials, we will be more familiar and will understand. But either way, this is just very interesting, and I love listening to this stuff. And
me too.
Yeah, we can learn a lot, Ava, at this point, a lot. And thank you for thank you.
But do they Jeffrey Dahmer is still talked about, Bundy, like there are cases that are talked about for like on and on and on, because they were just either culturally a big thing for one reason or another, right? And this is one of them, so it is what it is.
But I do, like I said, I do think it should be, it just happened to perfectly align with Casey coming out and creating a Substack and trying to generate a fan base essentially, and put herself in the forefront in the spotlight and make money. She is making money when this should be known. Justice for Kaylee should be known, not Casey. Sorry. And I understand she was found not guilty. And I know Allie definitely knows more about the jurors and what she was charged with, and how there may have been misunderstanding with the instructions there. And we're going to get into all of it. But fortunately, I think she got away with it. But for anyone who isn't familiar, who doesn't remember, even though I'm familiar, I don't remember all of it, this should be in the forefront. Kaylee's truth should be in the forefront.
The actual story, the evidence, not this story that Casey's telling now, since like this Peacock series and all of that. And people are obviously interested in it. I mean, her TikTok had like 5 million views in no time. I can't believe that so many people were invested and cared about this case now and then. It's pretty wild how it's touched so many.
I see her kind of how I see with OJ, and he came out with the, okay, if I did it, right? And I'm going to detail this book very, in great specific detail, but I'm just going to interchange myself for this character's name. That's how I see Casey right now. I'm going to come out, and so much time has passed, and it's a different generation, and I see Gypsy doing it. I want it. And she has made a lot of money in the small little time that she has had a Substack and essentially posted nothing. I have one. Thank you, though, Cammie. Shy. What I say is y'all hoes need jobs. Thank you. I have one. And then I come on and I do this. But I appreciate it. And thank you, Angie Erickson, for the super sticker, hun. Exactly, Nancy. Her dumbass Hulu shit was OJ's book. Exactly. I didn't know what Substack was before this, but it's like another platform. You have to pay to follow, to interact, to even comment with her, and she publishes content. But from what I understand, she hasn't really posted anything, honestly.
And I don't know if it's just hers that you like have to pay to comment. Like, I wonder if that's in the settings, because I know there's free, you can follow for free too. It's a new thing, so I don't know too much about it, but anyway,
well,
I'm not going to pay any more attention to that one, because that really annoys me. But
I know. But all right, here, because I told Skadoosh I would ask before we go. And again, tomorrow night, guys, we're watching defense opening statements over on Allie's channel. We'll be live about 8:30 Eastern. Now, defense's opening statement isn't as long as prosecutions, but I'm expecting it to be much more because it's going to be a lie. We're prepared because it's going to be aggravating. But do you, and I know that we touched upon this before, how she wanted to know how many of you guys believe that if you believe Casey's guilty, Casey intentionally took the life of Kaylee versus an accident and she covered it up. I know I've shared my thoughts before as far as I believe she accidentally, that doesn't make her accountable, versus she was abusing her and she was drugging her, and then it went too far and then she just covered it up. But please, Allie and everyone else, share your thoughts. And thank you, Sun Beach Holly. Thank you, ladies. It's been so long since I got into this case, but I was so emotionally invested being local that it killed me with the verdict. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's so crazy how close you were. I could imagine it being even more impactful.
Being local.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I don't know yet, because your theory makes a lot of sense to me, like this, especially because we know that she was at her boyfriend's house with Kaylee, middle of the night. Kaylee's gone. This is before she goes missing, and then she wasn't at her mom's, that situation. So it's like, where was she? What's going on here? But what has me like questioning that now is, if the tape was over her nose and mouth, it almost is like that was like to keep you from breathing. So I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, and and this is my opinion, I'm very curious. That's my opinion right at the beginning, guys. But come the end of this trial, my opinion might change because I am so much older now going over this and listening. So I may, I'm just basing my opinion off what I remember what my opinion was. You know what I mean? But if I remember correctly, and I put it alert, I can't believe you think intentional murder. That's interesting. A lot of you guys do. I think that they said when they get into the duct tape that it may have been applied post-mortem.
Oh, okay.
I may be wrong. I may be misremembering that. So please, someone correct me if I'm wrong. But I think they weren't. Didn't they say that they weren't able to determine if she was still alive when it was put on initially?
I wonder how they could. I don't know how they would be able to determine that. But the hair thing too. I didn't even think about that. What Harlot said, but
yeah.
I remember they did put out pictures, right, of the tape and the sticker, like once it was removed or something. Yeah.
Yes. Do you remember something like that? Yeah, I listen, and when it's so hard, you remember that too, Lisa? Okay, because I remember something. I don't remember specifically. We'll obviously figure it out. But I think she was drugging Kaylee for a long time, and even think about that night during the interview with the mom. She was staying over at what's his name's house. Kaylee was staying there with him, like at the house, and she woke up in the middle of the night. Then come the morning, Kaylee wasn't there. And he's like, well, where's Kaylee? Like, she was just here when we went to bed. Oh, my mom called in the middle of the night and I had to drop her off at home. But we found out, no, she didn't. Where do you think Kaylee was? I think every time Kaylee, she was 3, like she was about to be 3. You think every time she woke up or interrupted what Casey wanted to do, she would attend to her? I think no, she was knocking her out and keeping her potentially in the trunk. I don't know where, maybe at other times, but then it more and more and more until eventually it was too much.
Oh my gosh. I just don't know why the tape. And also the hair thing, like, why would you put someone, I don't know. Like, what does she mean? As if maybe she was kidnapped or something and you would expect it to come off? Because to me, duct tape in her head like that, period, it means you're not going to, I don't know. It's got my head's all over the place with it. I've got to digest it and kind of think about it, I guess.
See, and there's a lot of people who remember that too. So I'm curious because that's a big difference, right? And not so much like still her life was taken in Haishai, but whether it was applied after. And the only reason, because if it was an accident, you may have, similar to like Letitia, and we set it up in a way where if she was found, it could appear a certain way. That's what I was thinking. And even if it was unintentional, because I saw someone ask, well, why would she still wait? Because she was still, that's all on her still, you know, like, what is she going to say? I unintentionally took my child's life while dosing them with drugs to knock them out. You can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
And so you feel
You know
intentional.
you're going to jail.
Well, we're going to need to pull ourselves come the end of this trial, and we'll do it kind of throughout too. Hey, what, you know, we're on day 3, 4, 5, like, what's our thoughts? And see maybe how it changes along the way. But I'm so excited for opening statements for the defense tomorrow, because watching Casey's reaction, Allie, no, she just shook her head. No, the whole hour and a half. Yeah. Now let's see what happens when it's her narrative being pushed and Jose coming out, and he's going to come out with guns blazing. And thank you for the $6.09. We need to ask ourselves why the perps keep getting more attention in charity than innocent victims. Amen. Amen.
Yeah. Now, with Jose, I don't think I've ever watched him in court, ever.
Oh,
maybe on a, back in the day, a clip on the news or something that I don't recall, but yeah.
Oh, Allie, I'm so excited. You guys, we're going to be on Allie's channel, like I said, tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern for episode 6, defense opening statements. So please, this is her channel. Obviously, I'm assuming you're all already subscribed, but if not, this is where we'll be. Her link is also in the description for anyone on the replay. And thank you, Skadoosh. Just want to say I love this place and I enjoy hanging out with you guys so much. It's been a rough few weeks, and this really makes my day. Same here. Thank you for the support. I hope it gets better, but I feel the same exact way. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Allie. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for defense opening statements. I'm ready.
Me too. Thank you, Melissa. And you guys have a good night.
Yes, you too. See you guys tomorrow. Good night.